I want to improve the appearance of my nursery rhyme page by adding some colour to the text. I'd also like to change some of the fonts. I can do this using styles. Let's open the page for editing and see how. I'd like to start by changing the colour of the heading to red. Inside the H1 tags then, I'm going to use the style attribute. Notice the American spelling of the word colour. If you spell it C-O-L-O-U-R, it won't work. Let's save it and see what happens. Reload the page, and I now have a red heading. Let's make each paragraph of the nursery rhyme a different colour. I'd like the first line to be blue. Now it's very important that we include the double quotes. Save and reload. The top line is blue. Let's speed things up with a bit of copying and pasting here. And let's see how it looks now. Each line a different colour. I'm not convinced about the colour of the pink there. It doesn't stand out very well. Let's try something else instead. Let's try violet. A little bit darker, a little bit more intense. The green is maybe a little dark. Let's change that as well. Green yellow. A little bit brighter, maybe too bright. You'd be surprised how many different named colours there are. For example, we have royal blue. Let's try that. A little bit lighter. We've also got dark blue. Maybe a little better. If you go online and search for HTML, CSS colours, you'll see a big long list of different named colours that you can use. You can also specify a colour by saying the amount of red, green and blue you want to mix into the colour. Let me show you. I'm going to copy this last line, paste it underneath, and instead of naming a colour here, I'll type RGB, red, green, blue, and I can specify the amount of red, green and blue that this colour will be made up of. 255 is the biggest number you can have, 0 is the smallest number you can have, and I'm going to go for 102 as the amount of blue I'm going to mix into this colour. So I've got full red, no green, and sort of half blue. Let's see what it looks like. That's sort of a tomato-y colour. If I know the hexadecimal code of a colour, I can use that as well. Let's copy the line again. But instead of RGB, I'm going to type a hexadecimal number. We always start with hash. If you have a graphics package like Photoshop or Fireworks, you can find out what these colours are. You can also find colour pickers on the web. Just search for hexadecimal colour picker and then you can choose a colour and it'll tell you the code. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, sort of a coral coloured. It looks a bit like orange actually. Let's try a different number. Sort of a light pink this time. Now something else I can do is to change the actual font face itself. So for example, I'd like the heading to appear in Comic Sans MS. If I want to add another style to the heading, I need to do it inside these double quotes. I separate the style properties using a semicolon. So I'm going to type a semicolon here, and now I'm going to put in the font family style. A colon, and then the value, in this case, Comic Sans MS. Let's see how that looks. Comic Sans is one of those fonts that's a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. I think for a nursery rhyme website it works quite well. I can also change the font size. I need another semicolon here. Say what the name of the property is, font size, and then the value. And you can specify the value in pixels. I'm going to go for 35 pixels, 35 px. Let's see how that looks. A little bit bigger. I'm going to show you one more advanced feature when it comes to font size, which is actually quite useful if you're building a website that's going to be used on either a computer or a mobile phone or a tablet. We can get the font to shrink and grow according to the size of the window. Let's look at this last line again here. I'll remove the colour just so we don't have the complication. Style equals font size, and I'll go with 5 VW. VW stands for view window. Let's see what it does. Now, it's much bigger. There's no colour, I've removed the colour property, but watch what happens when I resize the window. You can see the text is actually growing and shrinking. So as you can imagine, this is going to be quite good if you're building a website that needs to respond to the size of the device that it's being viewed on. There's one more thing I want to show you that we can do using styles. I've got a list down here. It's an ordered list. I'm just going to change it back to an unordered list. Instead of OL, I'll use UL to define this list. Just check that. So you can see I have bullet points, but you might prefer some other kind of bullet, perhaps squares. So inside the opening UL tag, I'm going to use a style attribute. It's called the list style type attribute. And I'll give it the value square. Save the page, reload, and my bullets are now squares. Let's try circle instead. Not quite the same as what we had originally. I can even say none. Because perhaps we don't want any bullets at all. I quite like circle actually, I'm going to put that back. So there it is. Perhaps you'd like to give it a try. Make each line of your nursery rhyme a different colour. You could also make each line of your nursery rhyme a different size or a different font family. Let's just tidy this up a little bit. That's better.